About 50 packs of Shin Ramyun are sold every second worldwide. Inside the factory, it's far more than just flour and water pressed into shape. There's steam, precision, and a frying stage that happens in seconds, where one wrong move can ruin an entire batch. In this video, we're showing you the full process, from raw ingredients to that springy texture you know. This is how Shin Ramyun noodles are really made. The base is surprisingly simple. 4 ingredients, wheat flour, water, salt, and alkaline agents. Those alkaline agents, specifically potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate, are what give Shin Ramyun its yellow color and chewy bite. This isn't regular pasta dough. The alkalinity changes the flour's protein structure, making the noodles springier and more elastic. Without it, you'd end up with soft, mushy noodles that fall apart in hot broth. Each ingredient is measured with precision because ratios matter. Too much water and the dough won't hold, too little and it won't form properly. All of it feeds into industrial mixers, and that's where the real process begins. Massive mixer blades rotate through the flour and water mixture, forcing the gluten to develop. This is what creates structure, what makes the noodles hold together under heat and pressure. The dough gets worked for several minutes until it reaches the right consistency, firm, elastic, slightly sticky. Then it gets transferred to the next stage. No resting, no waiting. The factory runs on speed. Next, the dough moves into a series of rollers. On the first pass, it's still thick. The sheet is wide, rough, and uneven. On the second, it's thinner as the rollers compress it further and smooth out the texture. By the third or fourth pass, the dough has become a thin, uniform sheet, consistent across every inch. Then it hits the cutting machine. Rotating blades slice the sheet into thin strands, with width and length controlled down to the millimeter, so every noodle comes out identical. And here's the key. The noodles don't just drop straight down. They're waved, crimped into that signature wavy shape, a shape that is engineered to do a job. The curves increase surface area and help sauce and broth cling more tightly to each strand. Force follows function. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. We dive into the engineering behind popular foods. Raw noodles can't be fried. Not yet. They need to be partially cooked first, so they move into a steaming chamber. High-pressure steam blasts the noodles for 1 to 2 minutes. The heat gelatinizes the starches on the surface, locking in moisture and giving the noodles their initial structure. This step is critical. If it were to be skipped, the noodles wouldn't fry properly. They'd burn on the outside and stay raw on the inside. Steaming pre-cooks them just enough. Now they're ready for the most important step. This is where Shin Ramyun becomes Shin Ramyun. The steamed noodles drop into massive vats of palm oil heated to 284 to 320 degrees Fahrenheit. They only fry for 60 to 90 seconds. But in that short window, everything changes. The moisture inside the noodles turns to steam. It escapes rapidly, creating thousands of tiny air pockets throughout the noodle structure. This is what makes instant ramen porous. So when you add boiling water later, it rehydrates in minutes. The oil also coats the surface, sealing in flavor and giving the noodles that slightly crispy texture before they're cooked. Temperature control is everything here. Too hot and the noodles burn. Too cool and they absorb too much oil, becoming greasy and soggy. The frying process is monitored constantly. Sensors track oil temperature. Timers control how long each batch stays submerged. One mistake and thousands of servings could get wasted. But when everything is done right, you get noodles that rehydrate perfectly, that stay chewy and hold up in boiling broth without turning to mush. This is the step that defines instant ramen, and Shin Ramyun has it down to a science. After coming out of the fryer hot and oily, the noodles move onto a conveyor belt and pass through a cooling tunnel. Air circulates around them, bringing the temperature down rapidly. Then they enter a drying chamber where any remaining surface moisture gets evaporated. This extends shelf life and ensures the noodles stay crispy and stable for months, even years, without refrigeration. By the time they exit this drying chamber, the noodles are completely shelf-stable and ready to be packaged. Shin Ramyun's flavor comes from multiple packets: the soup base, the vegetable flakes, a separate spice oil. Each component is carefully measured, blended, and sealed into foil packets. The soup base combines beef extract, garlic, chili powder, soy sauce powder, and MSG, while the vegetable packet holds dehydrated mushrooms, green onions, and carrots. These packets are produced on their own line, then sent down to the main assembly area to be paired with the noodles. The fried noodle blocks move down the line and machines drop them into individual plastic trays or directly into packaging sleeves. The seasoning packets get added, 1, 2, sometimes 3, depending on the product. Then the package is sealed, with heat-sealed edges locking everything in and keeping it airtight and moisture-free. Finally, the packages are grouped into multi-packs, shrink-wrapped, boxed, and labeled. From raw flour to finished product, the entire process takes less than an hour. And then they're shipped, 50 packs every second. Over 1 billion packets a year, all made the exact same way, every single time. So how did Shin Ramyun become one of the most recognizable instant noodle brands on the planet? Back in 1986, South Korea's instant noodle market was already crowded. Brands like Samyang had been around since the 1960s. Competition was fierce. Everyone was making similar products, mild, simple, cheap. But a company called Nongshim saw an opportunity. They wanted to create something different and bolder, something that reflected Korean taste preferences, specifically the love of spicy, garlicky, beef-flavored soups. So they developed Shin Ramyun. The name literally means spicy noodles. And from day one, it was designed to stand out. The broth was richer, the spice level was higher. The flavor was more complex, layered with garlic, gochugaru, and a deep beef base that felt closer to homemade soup than instant food. It launched in October 1986, and it was an immediate hit. Within a year, Shin Ramyun became one of the top-selling instant noodles in South Korea. Not because it was cheaper, not because it was convenient, but because it actually tasted good. By the 1990s, Nongshim started exporting Shin Ramyun internationally, first to Korean communities abroad: Los Angeles, New York, Toronto, Sydney, places where Korean immigrants wanted a taste of home. But something unexpected happened. Non-Koreans started buying it too. The bold flavor, the spice, the satisfying chew of the noodles. It appealed to a much wider audience than Nongshim had anticipated. So they expanded. Aggressively, they opened factories in the United States, China, and other key markets. They adapted their distribution strategies. They got Shin Ramyun into mainstream grocery stores, not just Asian supermarkets. By the 2000s, Shin Ramyun wasn't just a Korean product anymore. It was a global brand. Since its launch in 1986, Nongshim has sold over 38.6 billion packets of Shin Ramyun worldwide. In 2023 alone, they produced approximately 1.66 billion packets. That's an average of 50 packs sold every single second. Think about that. While you've been watching this video, thousands of people around the world have bought Shin Ramyun. It's sold in over 100 countries. It's stocked in gas stations in rural America, in convenience stores in Tokyo, in supermarkets in London, Paris, and São Paulo. So what makes Shin Ramyun different from every other instant noodle brand? Three things. First, consistency. Every single packet tastes the same. Whether you buy it in Seoul or Seattle, the flavor, the texture, the experience is identical. That level of quality control is rare in the food industry, especially at this scale. Second, flavor complexity. Most instant ramen is one-dimensional, salty, maybe a little spicy. Shin Ramyun has layers: the beef broth, the garlic, the gochugaru heat, the umami from the mushrooms and kelp extract. It's engineered to taste like something you'd actually cook at home. Third, cultural timing. Shin Ramyun hit the global market just as Korean culture was starting to explode internationally. K-pop, K-dramas, Korean food became cool, and Shin Ramyun was already there, ready to ride that wave. It wasn't just noodles anymore. It was part of a cultural experience. Today, Shin Ramyun isn't just a product, it's an icon. It's the ramen you see in Korean dramas. It's the base for Korean army stew in restaurants. It's the late-night meal for college students worldwide. Nongshim has released dozens of variations over the years. Shin Ramyun Black with bone broth, Shin Ramyun Red with extra spice, cup versions, bowl versions, limited editions, but the original is still the best seller. Because after nearly 40 years, they've perfected the formula. And that's why, decades later, Shin Ramyun remains the standard by which all other instant noodles are judged. And there you have it. From raw flour to that perfect chewy noodle sitting in your bowl, every step is engineered for consistency, speed, and flavor. Shin Ramyun isn't just popular by accident. It's the result of decades of refinement, industrial precision, and a formula that works every single time. So now I want to hear from you. What's your go-to way to eat Shin Ramyun? Do you add extra ingredients? Egg, cheese, vegetables? Or do you keep it classic? Drop your recipe in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into how your favorite foods are actually made, hit that like button and subscribe. We've got more factory breakdowns, food science, and behind-the-scenes processes coming your way. Until next time, thanks for watching.